the real aspect of accounting is nothing but a study of time. The first result was CA. So that is how I decided that I want to become a chartered accountant. And at that particular point of time, there was nobody in my village to tell that this is a difficult course. So I thought it is an easier course to pursue, plus the cheaper one. So that is how I landed in this course.
And then, so when you landed, was it like a shock of how difficult it was? Because it's supposed to be one of the most difficult exams in India. So immediately after clearing your exam, what decision did you make? Did you want to get into like academics?
Till the very fag end of my articleship, I dreaded practice. I kept telling everybody that practice is the last thing that I'm going to do, and fate has its own way of putting me back to the practice. The moment I was offered with the highest package, I made a decision of never getting into employment.
Anwesh, since you love teaching, let me ask you this one question. What, according to you, is a differentiator between a true teacher and a mentor?
So I started teaching my classmates, my juniors, my seniors, my super seniors. And then after teaching everybody around me, I found that teaching is something that I love the most. 20 years down the line, once I want to come out of law.
That's a very different thought process. I've never heard that concept. So tell me what got you into corporate training? How did that aspect come in?
I want to start a primary, and I want it to be a commerce-based primary.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Coffee with CA with me, your host Jeena Barwani. Today on the show we have CA Anwesh Shetty, a chartered accountant, a tax expert, a passionate teacher, as well as a lifelong learner. So let's get started as we understand how he's taught around 75,000 plus students and also taught tax experts while he was a student himself. So let's get started as we deep dive into his journey and learn how he is running his firm with tech at the forefront while also being a PhD scholar. Hi Anwesh, really nice to have you on the show finally.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. So I'm going to take you way back as to when you started, your decision to pursue accounting. How did that crop up?
Why did I choose accounting? More in particular as to why did I choose to become a chartered accountant? To be very honest, I come from a very small village called as Kudripada, which is located near Mangalore. I'm 40 kilometers away from Mangalore. And it is so remote that till the very recent past, it was not even available on Google Maps.
Okay.
So growing up in my village, there was no chartered accountants at all. But right after clearing my 12th standard, I was clear about one thing, that I would not ask money from my parents for my higher education.
Okay.
So we had a very small Nokia phone at that point of time. So I Googled for which is the cheapest course in commerce. The first result was CA. So that is how I decided that I want to become a chartered accountant.
Okay.
And at that particular point of time, there was nobody in my village to tell that this is a difficult course. So I thought it is an easier course to pursue, plus the cheaper one. So that is how I landed in this course.
Yeah. And then, so when you landed, was it like a shock of how difficult it was? Because it's supposed to be one of the most difficult exams in India.
See, somewhere I partly agree with you as far as it is a difficult course. But the real aspect is when I joined the college, it was the first batch. Ours was the first batch which was doing the CA course, and it was the first batch of CPT.
Okay.
And nobody told it was difficult.
Okay.
So I thought it is as good as difficult as BCom. So I did not actually feel that it was a difficult course at all till I joined my articleship and met other people from other cities who were saying that this course is difficult. So for me, maybe out of sheer luck, I found this entire course to be absolutely easier course.
Okay. So it was, if I'm not mistaken, during your articleship itself that you started teaching your seniors and juniors. How did that crop up?
It was much before my articleship. So when I was in my graduation, BCom, I used to love reading. So even when I would get books, I would read the entire semester book much in advance. And my classmates often found reading accounts and taxes a little bit of difficult as a subject. So they would ask me to teach them. So it started as a peer teaching. Then my juniors wanted me to teach them. So I started teaching them. Then we also had our seniors wanting to learn a subject. So I started teaching my classmates, my juniors, my seniors, my super seniors. And then after teaching everybody around me, I found that teaching is something that I love the most. So that is how I started my journey of, after clearing also, I just wanted to be a teacher.
Anwesh, since you love teaching, let me ask you this one question. What, according to you, is a differentiator between a true teacher and a mentor?
See, the teacher is somebody who believes in simplifying a concept. So if you don't really understand that concept, you can't teach it.
Correct.
So teaching is only about telling what is there in the books, simplifying so that they can remember it. But role of a mentor is much of a larger picture.
Yes.
So the mentor has not only, he shouldn't only to teach, he should also tell you what are the things to do, what are the things not to do, and he should help you plan for the next 5 years, next 10 years, next 20 years. So I feel that teacher is a temporary role, but mentor is somebody who will be associated with you for the rest of your life.
All right. Okay. So it's very interesting how you taught your juniors as well as seniors. So immediately after clearing your exam, what decision did you make? Did you want to get into like academics?
Now, right after I completed my CA, in Hyderabad, they were doing a campus interview. So I attended that campus interview.
Okay.
And at that particular given point of time, I was offered India's highest package.
Okay.
The moment I was offered with the highest package, I made a decision of never getting into employment.
Any particular reason?
I felt that at any given point of time, I can come back to corporate.
Okay.
So I wanted to experience what life has to offer me other than corporate.
Okay.
So the first thing that I wanted to do was teaching. And teaching was something that I was always doing since the age of 16. So I wanted to try something different. And I was very phobic to cameras at that point of time.
Okay.
So I thought I want to start my career facing the camera. So that is where there was an entity, there was a startup in Vijayawada called as FinApp.
Okay.
So I started my teaching career there. And from there, I shifted to another online startup, teaching startup called as Indigo Learn. I taught EIS in that particular company.
Okay.
And then in one period of time, at one point of time, I came back. And while I was deciding what to do next, should I continue teaching or should I get into corporate? On one fine day, I said, well, teaching I have tried, corporate anyways, that is open. So why don't I start a practice? So nobody knew, even in my home, my friend circle, nobody knew that I was going to start the practice. So I just went and found a place and I decided that I'm going to start a practice. So there was no planning. And till the very fag end of my articleship, I dreaded practice. I kept telling everybody that practice is the last thing that I'm going to do. And fate has its own way of putting me back to the practice.
Yeah. So apart from like teaching, I also know that you love studying because you just said that you love reading. You also like reading the Bear Act. How do you do that?
Now, I grew up reading lot of Puranas, lot of text on Kannada novels.
Okay.
And I used to like reading lot of science fictions.
Okay.
But then once I became a chartered accountant, I started getting the taste of reading the law, reading the Bear Act.
Okay.
Now, if you ask me, do I love reading fiction or a non-fiction? I would say I love reading the bare text of the law, because it is any law you pick up, that law is introduced for one particular purpose.
Okay.
And once you start understanding that purpose and how that person would have drafted it, because there is so much to tell, but you cannot write for like thousands of pages. So it is only 100 page, 200 page, 300 pages of law that you write.
As possible.
As crisp as possible.
Yeah.
So once you start reading it and then you go back and read the judgments and how the law got evolved, it's a beautiful thing to read.
Yeah. So, and then you might also be liking the cases and all of it when, people find loopholes. I wouldn't say misuse, but they find loopholes in the law.
See, when every case laws, now normally we crave for standardization, saying that if this is the law and this is the fact, so this must be the judgment. But the reality is different. So every judgment is based on a judge's interpretation on one particular given day. So on a same set of facts, on a same law, you may find one High Court judge rendering a particular decision in a particular way. And probably within weeks of time, you may find another High Court judge exactly contradicting with that judgment. So it's a beautiful thing to read both the judgments, two facets, two sides of their interpretation. So I like reading the Bear Act, but more than that, I love reading the judgments.
That's nice. So you after you started your own practice, how did you see, like say you would have done your articleship, right? How did you want to make your practice firm very different from the articleship experience that you had at that particular firm? So what changes you brought in?
See, I did my articleship with my principal being
Correct.
CA Kumar sir, and our firm name was Raven Basri, where I did my articleship. And I was fortunate enough to study there, and my principal was always supportive of me studying particularly. However, in that office, the culture was that if you really want to study,
Yeah.
he would motivate you to study.
Okay.
But if you did not want to study, then there was no such push that was coming. So when I started my practice, I said to myself that an office should not be a place where students are given with an option to study and not to study. It must be a place everybody should be pushed towards studying, because only then you can figure out as to what you exactly want out of your life.
Yeah.
So that is where in the office that I'm running currently, we have a policy that office starts at 7 in the morning. So no other office in Mangalore starts at 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
So from 7 to 9, 9:30 is this time for all the students to come and study. And office would end at around 6. So from 6 to 7 they have break. So from 7 to 11 again they're made to sit and they're supposed to study.
Okay.
So it is a rigorous 2 to 3 years that you spend in the office. But at the end of your articleship, you will exactly know that whether you are really cut out for this course or whether there is some other calling that you have.
So you will also offer scholarships to those such students?
Yes.
Yeah. What was the reason behind it? Apart from wanting them to study this way?
See, even I come from, as I told earlier,
Yeah.
come from a very rural area. I come from an agricultural background. So I know the difficulties of the students who really want to pursue it, but for whatever reason, maybe monetary or maybe from other family support,
Yeah.
that there are so many brilliant minds that come from villages, but they lack guidance. They lack the support of somebody saying that, you do it, I'll stand behind you. So we thought the people from cities anyways will have
Yeah.
resources or access to the facilities. So we thought, why don't we bring people from villages? Why don't we fund their entire education? Why don't we sponsor them? Because it is just 2 to 3 years that you have to support, and for the end of
A
30,
person's
40
life
years.
would change.
Yes. So it is a larger personal satisfaction, I would say, that that one would get by helping the other fellow students to come up.
You like helping through teaching, you like helping through your own way of giving back to students and asking them to pursue this course rather than leave it off.
Correct.
So what is the drive that you have as of date? As what do you want for your legacy?
See, there are two aspects that I have. Probably if I'm planning for what I want 10 years down the line and what I really want as a retirement plan.
Correct.
So 10 years down the line, I want to be a Supreme Court advocate.
Okay.
Because law is something that I found it is my calling and I wanted to become a lawyer.
Yeah, correct.
And but 20 years down the line, once I want to come out of law, I want to start a primary.
Okay.
And I want it to be a commerce-based primary, because all the schools, they teach history, they teach civics, they teach science, but the most important part is never taught in the primary schools. And even today, if you are a commerce student, the first page of you realize what is journal, what is ledger, what is cash flow only once in 11th and 12th standard.
Exactly.
And so many smart people, they are never exposed to this. Right after 10 they take science, and they just don't know what commerce has to offer. So what I want to do is start a commerce-based primary in which accounts will be taught from 3rd to 4th standard, and all our subjects, CS-related subjects, probably in the high schools.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, and it's also very important, I think these days with social media and all of it being and the primary forefront for everyone, even a child, I see a lot of people starting their own small businesses at a very young age.
Correct.
But they don't understand how they play a bigger picture towards a growing economy.
Correct.
Yeah. So you've taught around 75,000 students as of date. What is one concept that you've simplified it where, tell me one of your favorite concepts that you simplified? I know there will be multiple, that's why.
That is an interesting question to ask. What is the one concept that I've simplified? I would say the very idea of accounting itself. where people normally, when they study accounting, they study it more like a rule-based accounting. They would either start with personal, real, nominal account,
Correct.
or they would go with the increase in asset, decrease in asset. But the real aspect of accounting is nothing but a study of time.
Mhm.
Without understanding the concept of time, you can't understand accounts. So every time a business does something, it does it so that it gets something in return.
Correct.
So if you get it immediately back, then it is a revenue item. It goes to your P&L account.
Yeah.
But if you do something, but if you don't get it immediately back, but you postpone the return to the next accounting period, then it goes and sits in your balance sheet. So I always encourage students to understand accounting from the point of view of study of time, rather than by-hearting golden rule or increase in asset, decrease in asset, not the American system of accounting.
Yeah.
And students find it, once they really understand the concept of time and how the revenue and the capital items gets classified, it becomes much easier. They don't have to by heart.
That's a very different thought process. I've never heard that concept, right? And so that's very unique also. So I'm so glad that there are a lot of people out there like you that are actually imbibing these concepts right in the beginning itself, in the foundation years.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's nice. And so tell me what got you into corporate training? How did that aspect come in?
See, when I started teaching, and I used to teach only students.
Yeah.
But then I realized the learning when you are a student, it is just restricted to either passing the examination or getting good grades.
Yeah.
But then there is larger sector of people who, after getting into job, then they figure out that, oops, I did not study that concept at that particular time. I wish if there was somebody who would come now and teach. So that is how I'm getting invited to a lot of corporates, and I go there. I try to simplify tax laws as much as possible. Sometimes I speak on GST, and most of the times I speak on income tax as well, and helping people to understand that, as much as possible, don't jump into breaking the law, because to err is human, but most of the erring happens with having no enough knowledge, no sufficient knowledge on law. So I enjoy going to corporates and breaking down these complex laws and trying to help these employees to see to it that they comply with the law.
Yeah. So tell me this one concept, because I know that you've put tech at the forefront of every aspect, right? Tell me this concept of how tech, blockchain, and accounting can be combined together.
Okay. See, when you talk about blockchain, the people, 90% of the people, they do not actually understand blockchain.
Correct. Yeah.
So they go on understanding cryptocurrency is blockchain.
Yeah.
It is as if saying net banking is internet. It is just one of the use cases of a larger concept. So what exactly is a blockchain? So if I were to tell you right now that I've studied in Harvard, and if I were to say that, I am a Zoho employee, and if I just update in my LinkedIn, there is no way a third party can verify this info.
Correct.
And it is more on self-assessment. So whatever I write, unless somebody catches me, it remains the truth. So a blockchain is nothing but, it's a distributed public ledger, only 3 words. So ledger, because all the data is available at one place. So think of a notice board. The data is available. It is a public ledger. That means anybody can see it. So it is not, you don't require a password to access this particular place. Now it is distributed. Now why it is distributed? Because if one person has the custody of entire data, anybody can delete the data as well, or they can modify the data. The fact that it is distributed, that means that there is no one place where this data is hosted. It is stored in lakhs and lakhs of devices. So that is what blockchain basically is. Now when we talk about accounting, see, if I were to just pass a journal entry, now let us say that I sold an item worth rupees 10,000. So this is my books, my pen or my computer where I pass the entry. So I may say it as, it's the cash I contributed to sales, I sold something for 10,000. Maybe in reality I would have sold it for 8,000 rupees, maybe for 1 lakh rupees, maybe I have not sold at all. So there is no way
to verify
it. So you have to depend on an external auditor to come there and certify the asset that this actually exists. So now if the transaction is actually available in the blockchain itself, So it becomes very easier for somebody to assert saying that, hey, the transaction happened and look at this, it is available on the blockchain. So think of it like a real estate deal. So I sell my 1 acre of land to you. Now, imagine that this particular transaction is recorded in the blockchain so that anybody, all the stakeholders can go and verify the transaction. So that is where there is a concept, something called as triple entry system. It is not only double entry, it is triple entry, where there is an entry in my books and another entry, corresponding entry in the blockchain for anybody to go and verify it. So this may change, may not be in a very near future, but probably 10 years down the line, it may change how we look at accounting, how we look at auditing.
That's nice. I can just see that in one minute itself, you simplified such a complicated topic. So that's great. So tell me how can an accountant, be wary of the errors that can happen also in blockchain?
See, when we talk about blockchain, there is no scope for error. Prima facie, there is no scope for error at all, because there are two parties who are doing the transaction. But then what blockchain does is it adds one additional layer of security in which you exactly don't know who is the sender and who is the receiver. So it is not that whenever I send, it is not my name. So it's going to be a public key. The names are not easily identifiable. So an accountant has to be very, very careful, because I can always go and tell an accountant saying that, hey, look at the blockchain and see, that is my transaction. So he needs to know to verify that whether it is actually my transaction or whether it is somebody else's transaction. I'm portraying it as my transaction. Other than that, the system is so beautifully designed that there is no scope for error.
That's nice. So tell me the first instance in your practice that you felt like, this can be automated. We can automate this entire process, and how did you do it?
Now, when it comes to the billing aspect of it, or sending reminders to the client, I always felt once you bill your clients, reminding them about the fees, I personally, I don't...
It's just an odd feeling.
Odd feeling. And it is not because of automation, because of my own odd feeling about reminding the client. That is where for the first time, I thought, all right, let me put a system in such a way that as soon as the invoice is sent and the fees is communicated, let the system do the part of asking, so that it saves a lot of awkward feeling for myself. So that was just a beginning. And then I felt your entire office. See, what happens is when you talk about CAs in practice generally, traditionally, it is more of micromanagement. And we used to have a concept of timesheet, wherein you go and ask your employees to fill that timesheet, and you ask them, what did you do at this particular point? So
time in, time out, and all of it we would
correct at that point of time. So I felt this manual thing can be completely replaced with that of a system. You can move to a practice management wherein your entire work can be tracked. You give estimation point to track the performance of each and every employee. So you do a system that helps people to come and enter their data on their own, rather than you micromanaging and then entire workplace becoming toxic.
That's nice. So as of date, I am assuming you have automated your entire firm, right? And the very reason that you have time in your hand as well to teach, as well as study on the side for a PhD. So what is making you pursue that PhD?
See, when I completed my CA, and when I was a student, we used to conduct a lot of seminars, and I was in the committee of SICASA. And because I was in the committee, I was asked to come to a lot of programs, and I used to see a lot of good speakers coming. For example, there was Vaiteswaran, who would come and speak on GST. There was Venkatramani, there was Jatin Christopher. And looking at them, I felt that not only CA, there is something additional that you need to pursue. So that is how I started for LLB. Once I completed law, when I looked at the GST law particularly, the law that is applicable for 99% of the business is common, but only for real estate. There is plethora of notifications which is only specifically applicable for real estate. And these changes keeps happening, because before 2019 we had a very different set of law for real estate. After 2019 there is another set of law that is applicable for real estate. And lot of builders they have money, they have a lot of money, but when it comes to compliances, they don't have sufficient support. So that is where I wanted to do a research on what is the compliance level of these builders, what is the tax position that they take, and how it is impacting on their overall pricing. So that is how I ended up in selecting this as my subject for my PhD.
That's really nice. So it's a very unique. Like one thing has is like probably you can say like a domino effect.
Correct.
Which has led you to do your PhD in GST specifically for real estate. That's a very small niche that you're picking up. So Anwesh, as like someone who has always put tech at the forefront, what is some tech tools that you would suggest every CA firm implement or a student study about it? So give me your thoughts on that.
Now, see, now we are in the segment of AIs.
Correct.
So most of the CAs, they feel that if they learn AI, automatically their students also know about AI. So I feel that initial education regarding how to responsibly use AI, that must be imparted in all the offices particularly. Because it's very easier for you to upload any of the client data to the cloud.
It's very sensitive.
Very sensitive. I receive a tax notice, I upload it and I say that, draft a response. So this should not be done. So what are the things what are the do's or the don'ts that needs to be taught as far as an AI stack is concerned? Because when we talk about AI, there are general AIs, there are explainable AIs. So I'll give an example. For example, you might have heard a lot of CAs coming back and telling that though AI in litigation can be used, but AI hallucinates a lot. So they will throw up random case laws and, we present it and it's a scene of
come up with a
random cases and it's embarrassment. But you also need to understand that is a general purpose AIs. You also have explainable AIs, which will give the source from which case it is picking. So proper education needs to be done about general AIs, explainable AIs, and how you should use it responsibly. And more to do with rather than tech, because the role of a chartered accountant or any CA student from doer, it has shifted into that of a reviewer. And so earlier you were supposed to draft, you were supposed to write, you were supposed to pass entries. Now it has shifted to AI will do it, but rather than tech, you should take a step back and you should create awareness amongst your staff and the team, saying that not everything that comes from AI can be submitted to the department or can be given to the client. So that must be the first thing that they need to teach. And second aspect that every office must imbibe or they must understand is project management tools. Because when you work in a team, you can't, the days are gone that you insist on everybody to come and work under a single roof. And COVID has taught us. So you should give the liberty to your staffs, to your team, to be wherever they are, and if the situation so demands. So you need to have proper system put in place for your data protection. You need to have proper project management tools, proper communication tools, so that your team can communicate within the team as well as you can communicate with the client. So, and other than that, of course, all the offices would have, and all the CAs would definitely know to have a proper, accounting software, proper expense-related software, proper tracking softwares. But other than this, if the one thing that they need to absolutely focus now, then it should be on AI.
That's nice. So I'm going to ask you a contradictory question as well. While there is an increase in technology and AI agents and everything on the forefront of automated intelligence, what is one thing that people should not forget from like the old school learning?
See, now let me give an example of litigation itself. See, litigation primarily involves 4 steps. Or the 4 things that you need to have a litigation practice. The first thing that you need is resource.
Correct.
The problem of resource was solved the moment internet came into picture. So you need not, there was no requirement of having a large public library next to your office. So internet solved that problem of resources. Second one is you needed to have a research team, a large research team if you wanted to take a high profile cases. But AI is going to solve. It is already there. It's 90% there. The last 10% is what is pending. So it can act as your entire paralegal team from a research point of view. The third one is writing, the drafting, what we call it as. So earlier there was that inhibition, there was a writer's block stating that I come from Kannada medium, I come from Tamil medium, I come from some local this thing. I don't have that finesse in my writing, I cannot draft it that well. But now the drafting has become much easier as long as you can communicate and say that these are the things that I want. The final thing is representation. So representation is something that AIs cannot replace, because when you're representing, you're dealing with the human. So
and human touch will always.
The human touch should always be there. So whenever you take the help of any tech, you must understand that all these things you're doing at the end of the day to convince a human at the end. So you have to keep that in mind, and then start with your research, writing, and plan your resources.
Work backwards.
Work backwards.
That's interesting. So that's I think probably a concept that you would want everyone to take away.
Correct.
Where at the end of the day, humans you're going to be dealing with them only. You're not going to be dealing with AI agents every now and then. That's nice. So thank you so much for that. We are going on to our next segment, which is Beyond the Balance Sheet. In this particular segment, I'm going to be using my phone and I'm going to ask you a few fun questions. So my first one is, what's your favorite comfort food after a long day of work, teaching?
My comfort food has always been Parle Ji.
Parle Ji. Okay, that's really nice. What's one subject students dread but you secretly love teaching?
That has to be taxation.
Yeah. Any particular reason that you love, or is it again related because the Bear Act is there?
No, see, the taxation is, you have to understand that India is a huge country having around 140 crore people. And to regulate everybody, they have to draft it in some small act. So every word can be interpreted in 100 ways. So I love interpreting, I love throwing questions at students and making them make mistakes and then teach that how not to make those mistakes. So tax is that particular subject that I enjoy the most, because in accounting per se, you cannot fool people, you cannot trick your students, because if you understood probably the first month of accounting, then years of accounting is one and the same. But tax, every provision is different, it tells a different story.
That's nice. So would you choose Bear Axe or Netflix?
So if I am alone, I would choose Bear Act, but if I'm with my wife, then Netflix.
Your go-to productivity tool?
Now after AI I use Claude a lot.
Okay.
So I would say Claude. So I come off as a very studious, very serious and very committed to the craft. But growing up, I was a very notorious student. And there was a point of time that even I was suspended from my college.
Okay.
So, yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you want to share the reason as to why you were suspended?
That is a very interesting story to start with. I'll keep it very short. So what so happened was, when we were in our 12th, we wanted to do something very memorable that we will remember for the rest of our life. And we were young at that point of time, and nothing came to our mind as to what is that we can do memorable. Okay. So it was a college day, and on that college day, I was given with the best outgoing student award in the evening. And the night we were sitting and discussing what is that we can do. And somebody said, why don't you remove the air from somebody's bike? And we said, all right, this sounds like a good idea. And we went and we found the bike which was parked. We punctured it. The next day we got to know that that bike was of our college principals. And that's it. So they took back the award and they suspended me for a couple of days.
That's interesting. Do you have any more stories in your pocket like this? Multiple other stories, I'm guessing. So I think we'll save that for the next interview when we have with you. It was lovely talking to you, Anwesh, and thank you so much for being on the show and for patiently answering all my questions.
Pleasure is mine, and thank you, Gina, and thank you, Zoho, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.